City of Toronto opens 2025 budget consultations. Welcome to Regent Park TV. I'm Kedar, and today we bring you coverage of the City of Toronto's 2025 budget consultation launch. rptv attended a media conference at Toronto City Hall where Mayor Olivia Chow and Councillor Shelley Carroll, chair of the Budget Committee, announced the start of the city's 2025 budget consultations. The consultations, launching a month earlier than last year, aim to gather input from Toronto's residents on key issues, including housing and community services. Residents are invited to participate through an online survey available in 12 languages or attend one of the 6 consultation sessions in person or virtually throughout October.
For Regent Park, these consultations are particularly significant as the community continues to grapple with housing affordability and access to vital services. Residents' input will directly shape the city's financial decisions, potentially influencing programs that affect the neighborhood.
The first in-person session will be held on October the 19th at North York Memorial Hall. Mayor Chow emphasized the importance of public feedback, stating, "We want to hear from you, the people of Toronto," while Councillor Carroll highlighted the collaborative and inclusive nature of the process. The consultations follow the significant 2024 budget increase, which included a 9.5% property tax hike to address a $1.8 billion shortfall. However, city officials, including CFO Stephen Comforty, expressed optimism that this year's financial outlook is less severe. The results of these consultations will help inform the city's 2025 budget, which will be proposed by Mayor Chow by February the 1st, 2025, and reviewed by City Council in a special session on February the 11th. Watch the full press conference for details on the 2025 budget and how you can get involved.
Well, around this time last year, we stood here and asked Torontonians what they wanted to see in their city budget. And folks in Toronto said they want to see more funding for affordable housing and shelter services, community safety, better public transit services, among many other services that they want to see improvement or that they want us to keep. So we strengthened the tenants programs through Rent Save to keep people from being evicted. We launched new housing programs to get affordable rental housing built. We invested more in TTC services, kept the fares low, and more station staff to keep people safe. We also focused on some of the little things, like opening parks washroom earlier, they're taking longer to close the pools, the splash pads, fixing potholes, refreshing community centers. Those are things that we heard. There's some great ideas. We know, though, there's so much more we can do together. City services matter to people, and they can help make life more affordable. Over the next few months, we have many decisions to make about how we spend and how we save. And my priorities, of course, is to build more homes, feed more kids, get Toronto moving. But that's just me. That's just one person. I want to hear Torontonians' priorities also. I want to hear from you, the people that lives in Toronto. That's why today we're opening up the budget process and launching budget consultations. We're opening up our books, we're opening up City Hall. We want you to participate. We want to hear from you, the people of Toronto. We want to hear your priorities, what you want us to do more of or less of. We're opening up City Hall to get to what matters to you. by participating in our consultations, either in person, online, on the website. There's many ways over the next month. Torontonians will be informing me and our budget committee and our budget chief about what will make our city better for you and your family. The online surveys open up yesterday, October 1st. There will be 4 in-person consultation sessions and 2 virtual ones. And I am looking forward to it. Please complete the survey and find a consultation meeting on the city's website, which is toronto.ca/budget. So join your fellow Torontonians online and in person throughout October to share your ideas about city's 2025 budget and Toronto's future. I can't wait to hear from you. And we know we are stronger together. And this is your City Hall. So gather your friends, colleagues, community members together, neighbors, and talk about what's important to you. Next time you host a barbecue in your backyard, talk about what City Hall is doing right, what City Hall is doing wrong, how can we do better. Make a list of all the changes you like to see, because that's what we want to hear from you. The budget consultation is your opportunity to shape the future of your city. So please participate. Now I pass the mic to Budget Chief, Councillor Shelley Carroll.
Thank you, Mayor Chow. So it's time for the roadshow once again. Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining us. This is the launch of the pre-budget consultations. Toronto's budget is so much more than just numbers. We learned that last year, that people really feel that. We have a shared vision for the city. We're building it together with Torontonians. We want the budget to reflect people's priorities. It determines how we're going to set this city up for future generations. The budget is a powerful tool to focus council on that task. We tackle the challenges we face and we create new opportunities together with the actual residents we serve. So, it's about maintaining current services, but it's also about planning for a better, more equitable future for Torontonians. Last year was the first year we adopted this new approach, which is to invite you in every corner of the city to share your views before the budget is launched. Before we're wedded to certain numbers, we want to hear from you so that it truly is a meeting of the minds. The response last year when we did this for the first time was truly remarkable. Over 11,000 people participated in the pre-budget consultation process. I want us to think about that for a minute. 11,000 people took the time to take part, whether it was online, whether it was through signing in and speaking through one of the town halls, or the many in-person meetings. Chief Financial Officer Steve Conforti and I were in every one of the 16 major opportunities. So we really heard loud and clear from that vast number of 11,000 people. So we heard what matters most to you, and the message was very clear at that time. Torontonians want to see investments in 4 key areas. It's not all about what can you cut. They really do want us to make investments where the impact will be most felt. Safety, mobility, affordability. Sometimes it takes investment at the city level to create affordability for residents. And most importantly, their community services. Your feedback directly influenced the investments that we did make. We achieved some very significant improvements. Mayor Chow has just listed some of them. We expanded the Toronto Community Crisis Service so that mental health supports are now delivered not just by police, but also by some vital community agencies that are very good at doing that in a very non-uniform way. We hired hundreds of new police officers, firefighters, paramedics, and indeed safety staff on TTC services. And people are showing us that matters by by increasing ridership. More people are on the TTC today because of last year's budget investments that we have to say were made both by the city and through the help of Ontario's New Deal that helped us to invest in transit operating and safety. We're incredibly grateful for that new service that you see on downtown streets, our traffic wardens. We know we have congestion concerns to tackle, and we have that new force out there helping us to do that as a result of investments. We extended library service hours. It's not very often a councillor gets thank you notes, but I have a tiny library in my ward that has extended its hours. 8 hours in one tiny library makes a big difference in a big community. And so I'm receiving letters every week saying, thank you. I spent more time at Hillcrest Library and I really appreciated it. And I know that other councillors are having that same experience. And to better serve our community, and we want to serve every Torontonian, we were able through investment to increase shelter and supportive housing commitments. So many people who were experiencing homelessness had enhanced services that they could access and begin to really change their lives. We are moving people out of homelessness, and over 2,200 households are avoiding eviction as a result of the investments we made in tenant supports, in avoiding eviction, rent bank services and such. Huge feedback on that one from the community, and so aligned with the fact that the mayor had already told us before we even started those pre-launch, that's got to be a priority. We went out and we confirmed it among Torontonians. It is a priority for all of us. So we need your continued participation because that was what made this budget so effective. Those consultations that the mayor mentioned, they're so easy to access. It's all about going to toronto.ca. It's that time again once a year where you go looking for those magic words, city budget. This time it's 2025, but it will take you to the kinds of thing we need. The online survey this year is available in 12 languages. Technology is helping us get better and better at that. And these consultations, the pre-consultations, are so critical because we have a lot to do this year. While our financial position is much better than it was, we still have a long way to go. And so, as usual, we're going to be hunting for efficiencies. We need to prioritize, and we need your help in doing that as well. This year will be a year in which wherever we can be lean, we must be lean. We also need your suggestions when it comes to our conversations with other orders of government. The mayor's already spoken to the community about the fact that we're starting into our conversations with Ontario for the Ontario New Deal Part 2, but we really need to be speaking to all levels of government in all the ways in which the whole of government can improve the experience in a city as important to the nation as the City of Toronto. We know that those conversations need to lead to one place. They need to lead to a city as important as Toronto having financial independence, for us to be able to solve our problems without always having to reach for that conversation. We need to have the big conversation about how do we make Toronto independent and how it moves forward to solve some of these challenging problems for a mega city like ours with real sustainability, knowing that we've found a solution that we can count on year after year after year. And so the pre-budget consultations will allow the residents of Toronto to talk about what are those big things that they want to see fixed to the point of sustainability so that we can take those conversations up the hill to Queen's Park, off to Ottawa, and come up with that all-around solution for the City of Toronto. And it's best to do that before you launch the hard numbers and get focused in. And so Stephen and I want to do some listening first, and then we'll be coming forward with the big numbers after that. And that's when we engage councillors, when we really can say to them, this is the feedback we built it upon, and councillors will begin to engage. And then they too will continue on the consultation so that the budget for the City of Toronto is truly collaborative, right down to the last resident, and certainly all 25 wards. So thank you for allowing us to get the word out that we really want people to participate in this pre-budget consultation every year. Thank you.
Some of you may have questions.
Reporters, please ask your question on the microphone, say your name, the outlet, and who the question is directed at. In whatever order you
Hi, Mayor Chow. Natalie Johnson, CTV News. Last year we saw the highest ever residential property tax in the history of Toronto. I understand that these budget consultations are designed to seek input from the public, and we don't want to preempt that process. But do you expect that something in the same realm might be on the table for this year?
I don't know. I really don't know. It is looking at what kind of contribution from the federal and the provincial government. It's also looking at what are the service levels. Our TDC service going to go up? Are we going to cap it? The number of police officers and the fire and the EMS, do we need more? Do we have enough? What levels of service? And even when the crosstown and the LRT open up, that's the operating dollars also. How much would it be? And how would we respond to it? So I can't prejudge that. So both the operating and the capital budgets are also interconnected with each other. And it matters that, well, should we open all the libraries every Sunday, every one of them? Or should we feed kids with a meal? How many schools can we afford to do it? So all of that really will come into the equation so we could calculate precisely what it is. And then on top of that, we're asking each department to look at, are there efficiencies? Are there things that you could do together with other departments where you could combine force and deliver better services, but not necessarily with as many people? We know in some areas that the application for zoning changes might be going down, right? So is there some way that we could find efficiency that way? So it's really, sorry, a long answer, but there are all these elements that we need to hear from the public first. And then we say, okay, what is the pressure? How much are we getting from the feds and the province? How much saving can we get? And what's the final number? So I don't think we will know that until next year.
What then is your message at this early stage to homeowners who 3/4 of the way into this year are feeling the impact of last year's property tax hike on their tax bills, and who are concerned that next year they may be asked to pay more in, what has become a tight economy?
I think the key thing is not to worry so much for seniors and folks that are lower income. We always have ways to exempt or cancel the increase or defer it. So with the cancellation and deferral programs, maybe we can extend that somewhat also. The threshold of what's the exemption rate or the cancellation rate we can look at. So really everything is at the table, and we want to hear from folks where things are at. Because we know that in 2025, the economy is not in the best shape. So people are facing higher mortgage costs, the rent is high. But the good news is the interest rate is coming down. Inflation is down, right? It's, I think, 2.5% or something like that. It's under 3%, which means that hopefully food price won't be so high, which makes the cost of living a bit better. But still, next year it's not going to be an easy year. So we know, we understand that.
It's important. It's important. If people are curious about why we struggle in finances, to take part in these pre-budget consultations, because a big part of how we present, the CFO and myself, is to really give people that fundamental. What is the financial structure? Why do cities in Canada struggle with their finances? We are financed differently than in other nations, and we give that foundational knowledge before we get into the conversation. So what do you want next year? Last year, a really big conversation was response times for emergency services, and those needed to be improved. This conversation gives us a chance for people to understand that everything you want to add has a cost to it. And so there are choices to make. Let's make those choices together. And so the pressure's always going to be there. We have improved the pressure, the investment that residents made last year and actually the year before. We're so grateful for it because they helped us begin to reorganize the finances to recover from some of the devastating financial impacts of the pandemic years. But we are still building back. We are still getting things back on track, but we'll discuss what those challenges are with residents so that as they make their decisions, they're sort of put in the shoes of the budget chief. We have a digital game we're going to play where they get to be me. They're going to be on a digital game looking at 5 of our hardest lines in the budget, and what would you do if you had to figure out which one you want to invest in, where you're going to get it from, and they'll really have a sense of the challenges we face.
Hi, Matthew Bingley from Global News. Councillor, if I could just get you back up there. You mentioned the engagement. One of the criticisms last year was that for the people who engaged in this early consultation process, was that it really favored people who were City Hall savvy, special interest groups. And then when you mentioned the 11,000 number, it's impressive, but out of a city of 3 million, I'm just wondering what you're doing different this year to try to reach more people who aren't as comfortable coming to this setting.
Well, I'll tell you who it favors. It favors who shows up. And having gone to every single one of them, I can tell you that what was so exciting about it is that in some of the locations, it was not the usual savvy person. It was people who are not addicted to going to every single meeting. People came out of curiosity. One of the most eye-opening and most different natured feedback for me was we were in the north of Etobicoke in a community center where as long as I've been going to meetings, and it's 20 years now for the city, most of the people in the room were people I had never met before. And if you come to a lot of meetings, chances are I've already met you in the city of Toronto, so is Mayor Chow. But this was a room full of people who rarely get that opportunity because they're so physically remote from, where the action is most nights. And that feedback was so meaningful to us. And literally every city staff member there to take the feedback was jazzed by it. One of the things that is so, to my mind, so important to this pre-budget consultation is our CFO, Stephen Conforti, make sure that a lot of the most senior members of staff in the city of Toronto are the, just everyday facilitator who sits at a table taking your feedback and making notes, because that puts them out of the tower, on the ground, and really hearing real voices. And so many of them came up to me throughout the subsequent months of the budget process to say, I'm so glad I did that. I can't remember the last time I got out there and spoke to a mom who wanted to talk about not just how much money we put into childcare, but why is it so mystifying? How can you make it easier for me? And he wouldn't have heard that if not for this process. And so Mayor Chow insisting that it will now happen every year is really going to change the way the very people who deliver our services think. Yeah.
We know that there are 3 kinds of people that tend not to participate most, or their voices are not heard. I did a lot of work with the CEO of Toronto Community Housing. I met with tenants representative across the city. I met with tenants outreach workers. And you will see in this year that they are participating. They're bringing the tenants, leaders, together to talk about the budget, what kind of services they want. Also, the tenants leader are going to go back to their buildings, into their neighborhood and ask and get feedback from there. So that's one thing that last year we didn't have enough time. This year I spent quite a lot of time in developing that. The second thing that you will notice is a lot of young people tend not to be engaged at City Hall. They don't, the voting numbers are smaller, right? So the budget chief talked about a digital game. It's actually not much of a game. It's actually quite real. That each brick is going to be 50 million, which is about 1%, right? And then there are these bricks to say, okay, here's police, TDC, etc. How would you balance the budget? Where will you actually invest? I hope it will capture the imagination of young people so that they can go, oh, let me try this. I know how to balance the budget. Come on, it's not that hard. They can give it a try. Oh, okay, interesting. So young people that are from area that tend not to participate, and also people that speak different languages. They may not speak English. Yeah, everything is in English. How are they going to participate? We're going to go out of our way to translate our materials, to go into areas where they tend not to come to City Hall to do public meetings. So those are, and there are other folks that can help us in doing that kind of outreach.
And Mayor, just to follow up with you, the councillor said it favors who shows up, but last year people will be familiar with a very concentrated lobbying effort from the police and also their association to advocate for the budget increase they wanted to see. Last year you made it clear that you had some benchmarks you wanted to see them meet when it came to response times, and I'm just wondering how closely you're watching those as the Police Services Board is now beginning their process.
Before the end of the year, well, let me rephrase that. Last year at budget time, I said that when you go out and buy something, you want to see product. If you go and get a service, you want to see what kind of service you're getting. And I promise that we will have a benchmark, that we will show some results. You will see from us that, okay, has the response time dropped? Okay, or is it still so high? Is it faster when you call 911? What are the numbers? What are the numbers in terms of people that call 211 because they have a mental health crisis? Is it better now? Is it across the city? When you call 311, is the service better? Is the library opening more hours? Does it work for you? Is the community center working? Well, you know what? Not everything is working as the way it should be, perhaps, but some are working better. We want to see results. We need to see targets. I was very clear. If a department came and said that we need that money in order to fix more potholes, tell me how many potholes you have filled. I want to see results because people put in their money, right? They want to see, picking up a dead raccoon, or dead animal. How long does it take? Is it faster now? Or is it still taking a long time? Well, okay, we're supposed to put in more money into this area so that we can get that result. So not just response time from the police, but actually in a lot of the city service, if you can't benchmark it, if you don't set targets, then how do you know it is improving? And I think it's important that we own it to the residents of Toronto because they pay for the service, that they see results. Has it gone up? Has it gone better? Or has it made worse? Or if it's worse, well, okay, there's some structural problems. We need to fix that too. Okay.
It's important to remember also, Matt, that sort of activist approach came after the budget was launched. So then we really are arguing about the hard numbers. But we were able to enter into that discussion and work things out with the chief, knowing during pre-budget that the community really had two feelings. One was we want to see response times down, and they have come down. Average response times now have been reduced 5 minutes and counting. There's another class graduating, and will be, by the time we're launching the budget in the new year, there will be yet another class of officers entering the stream and out there on the ground. And so we expect to see an even further improvement. But we entered into that discussion with the chief and the police board at a time when we also had the pre-budget consultation feedback that said people want response times to improve, but they also want us to continue that change from police response always to police response when needed, and when not needed, who's a specialist in mental health. So we knew that yes, we need to invest in police, but yes, we're going to put 25 million into the Toronto Community Crisis Service going citywide, so that non-police response that the police rely on, they use it and send people so that they go on to the next thing. We knew the city wanted us to invest in that as well, so that it allowed us to have a really informed discussion there. Yeah.
Sean Jefford, CBC Toronto. Excuse me. A couple of questions for Stephen Conforti. Stephen, hoping to drill down a little bit on the numbers here. So Councillor Carroll mentioned that the city's in a better financial position this year. There was a report to Executive Committee yesterday that basically said you've got a surplus, $240 million by the mid of the point of the year. Down to about 130 by the end of the year. Can you just explain why that is, why the financial position is improved rather, and what it does to the work on the budget for 2025?
Yeah, no, happy to. So yeah, we reported yesterday, we had our 6-month variance report. So as part of our variance report, we will project out where we believe the surplus will be at the end of the year. We do look at the point in time, but there are some variations that you have to account for. So we were predicting about 138 million is where our final surplus position will be. So what we do in our teams is we dig into that number and try to understand and reflect how much of that could we expect to recur in future years, and how do you start building that into the budget. So a great example will be, if you look at that number, I think roughly 55 million or so of the projection to year end is associated with our transit system. And you look at that a little closer, and what you're seeing is individuals that are taking the transit system 1 or 2 times a week are returning at even greater numbers than we anticipated, which is great news. And it's showing that slower, gradual recovery of our ridership revenue as we inch closer to where we were pre-pandemic. So we look at that. We look at that both in the case of how would you leverage that to be able to support longer term initiatives, but then closely as well as we build next year's budget and we look at the pressures that you see within our transit system, cost escalation, growth demands, you're able to leverage that additional revenue that we experience and build it into the base budget going forward as a measure to try to mitigate some of those challenges.
So on that point, that suggests that your budget pressure might be lower coming into the year. Back in January, you projected $1.4 billion as that shortfall or the pressure. Is that number still accurate?
So still very early. So last year we put forward a multi-year view on the budget, and it was actions that we would take today coupled with actions that we expect will be able to come to fruition over multiple years to get us back to stronger financial sustainability. We're now in the process of collecting all of those submissions. We're also in the process of reviewing them and putting them together. Fortunately, it's a bit early for us to confirm where are we in that path and that trajectory. We do actually hope to be in a position that when we start the consultation process, we can start sharing that information.
Hi there, Mattis Abibinho, Toronto Star. A question for you, Mayor Chow. At the presser this morning with the Premier, he mentioned the Eglinton LRT. Can we get it up and running in the next few months? Hopefully, if not, the next year. I just got off the phone with a Metrolink spokesperson on my way, and she said that Verster's promise to give us a 3-month notice is still in play. So if you do the math, we're not going to see that open till at least 2025. Given that mobility was a top priority for residents this year during the budget process, what is your response to that?
Other than sighing, I don't know. Don't know how to respond to it. we put aside money so that we could operate it. The minute Eglinton Crosstown, Finch LRT, when it's ready, we are ready to operate. And we, maybe, okay. So, yeah. Maybe they're saying that it's happening, okay? Yeah, right, sure, okay, I need to see it to believe it. I don't know, I spoke to so many of the local residents that has a beautiful station in front of them. And it's so tempting, it's beautiful. They said, my God, when can we open it up? And you know what? And it's disappointing, it's frustrating, it's heartbreaking. Please just get it done. Open it, because thousands and thousands of riders are ready. City of Toronto is ready. Our TDC drivers being trained, ready, okay? And money put aside. At the meantime, it's not open yet. It's not something I can control. It's not something TDC can control. It's Metrolinx. Sorry to not be able to say more than that, because I don't, Metrolink, it belongs to the Ontario government.
Thanks, Mayor Chow.
Hi, Mayor. Beatrice Vaisman, CP24. This morning at the press conference, Chief Demke talked about the increase of policing across the city, starting essentially today with the start of Rosh Hashanah, leading up to October 7th. As the mayor of the city, what are your safety concerns for the city for the next few days?
Oh, it's a very sad and grim anniversary, where Israel was attacked in the start of the war. Lots of emotions from myself, but from people that are watching what's happening in the Middle East. And whether some people, like return of the hostage, ceasefire, stop the bloodshed, all of that is just strong emotions and fear. And we live in a democratic country and a city. So people sometimes, when they're feeling that maybe even helplessness, they want to connect with each other. Sometimes they are out in the public. In a democratic country, yes, of course. But do not be hateful. Hate has no place in this city. We pride ourselves of being that we can live together in a harmonious way, where we can live in unity, where we feel that we belong. So, yes, if you want to connect with others, fine, but do not do anything that hurt or violent or hateful. What the police is doing, and I met with the chief together with other folks that I know are worried, and I've been assured, and the police are making their presence felt, and they will be more visible this weekend in different communities. I'm in close contact with the chief of police, and we'll do everything we can to keep our city safe.
When you talk about meeting with some of those people, in addition to the chief who are expressing concerns, the chief was quite clear today, sharing some of the hate crime statistics as well, up across the board, especially hate crimes targeting the Jewish community, up nearly 70%. Mm-hmm. So when it comes to concerns that people are sharing with you, Mayor, what are they saying, and what have you done over the course of the last year to help strengthen those relationships as well?
Yeah, it's a good question. Yes, we met with members in the Jewish community, absolutely. We met with members in the other communities that are also experiencing, but not necessarily to that extent, but leaders of all the mosques. In November last year, City Council came up with a comprehensive plan. That plan includes different divisions. For example, MLS, which is the licensing service are looking at ways to work together with the police, and also the transportation department is looking at doing safety walk to look at how some, whether it's schools, community centers, or places of worship, can be protected better. And the Toronto for All have launched campaigns that talk about that we need to lead with compassion and empathy. So from both very practical things on walk, safety walk, to public messaging about the needs to be empathetic and compassionate. And from the police side and the MLS and others, looking at protection, lowering the fear, all of that we've done together.
Could you just clarify a couple of quick things just with Stephen there? When it comes to the operational costs of running not running the crosstown, last year that money went into the budget. Are you able to say what the money the city currently has looking like they're not going to actually see this thing in operation, what that will actually pitch into the budget?
So as part of the new deal negotiations and final new deal that we had with the province, there's actually funds that were set aside to offset the costs associated with the operations of the crosstown. So to the extent that there might be any delays in the opening of the crosstown, we wouldn't have the expenses, but we also wouldn't draw from those funds that we received as part of the new deal, and we would ensure that those funds are available once the line does open.
Okay, and just one last clarifier, just on the 2024 budget outlook, where it showed just the trends, are you able to say if it seems like the budget, the opening budget shortfall is continuing to drop, or are we still seeing a level of pressure similar to last year?
So we put a series of actions in place last year where we do expect over the course of the next few years, we are looking to move towards fiscal sustainability or enhance fiscal sustainability. So we do expect, as a result of those actions, to see a drop from where our opening pressure started last year. The challenge, of course, is going to be getting the results in of all the submissions, being able to review to see exactly where we've fallen based on those efforts and the new growth demands or the new cost inflationary pressures that we see.
So, just so I'm clear, Stephen, do you feel better about this year's budget going into it than you did about last year's?
Is it bigger than a bread box?
So last year's budget, I can frankly say last year's budget was likely the most challenging budget I've had in 18 years of budgeting. We opened with a very significant budget pressure that was a result of really coming out of the pandemic with the sustained impacts on transit, shelter costs, and a series of other costs. We put in motion steps that were designed to be able to address that challenge over multiple years. So it doesn't get overly easier, but I don't expect it to be as challenging. But still not quite easy. Every budget's always going to have its own challenges.
Thank you.
And 1 second. Last question, or just?
How long was that bothering you?
How much is the
Oh, okay.
how much is the sign budget for the city? Is my question.
Or the tape budget?
The tape budget, yeah. My question is both for the mayor and for the budget chief.
Sure.
There are people who are going to see or hear or read about this budget launch today and the consultation launch, and they're just going to roll their eyes. They may think it's an exercise of futility or just going through the motions. So can you talk about something specific that changed over the course of the consultations at the start of last year versus when you got to the budget that kind of proves that these consultations do have merit and they do work?
Right. Well, the example I've already given really does come out of the consultation. We weren't sure that people even knew that we were embarking on this, we call it the fourth first responders, this new approach to mental health, to the wellness checks, persons in crisis but not dangerous, not weapons or whatever. We weren't even sure that people knew about it. It was being piloted, it was only in 3 parts of the city, but they did know about it. And it came from those tables, people saying that they had heard about it or experienced it, knew someone who had used it, and said, why isn't that available in my neighborhood? You have to do that. And, I was able to say very quickly, we're doing it as quickly as we can, but there is a cost to that. And people were saying, No, just go citywide. That's very, very important. They'd felt it, experienced it, and knew they wanted it to go. So that was one of the ones. But the other thing we heard, which I wouldn't call it a surprise, because we had heard people giving this feedback directly to the mayor just a few short months before in the campaign. Fix things that are broken. And so when you hear that language of refresh community centers, that's what it is. We didn't build a new one, but the little things that drive you crazy. Why is that fence there fencing off the broken thing? It's not anymore. We're going to fix it. And potholes, fix more this year. So all of those were things where people said, I just want to feel like we're actually fixing things as they break, not staring at them for 5 more years. And that was a lot of where some of that urgent state of good repair money went, directly from pre-budget consultation tables.
Let me give an example. The City of Toronto have a program called Rent Safe to help people that live in buildings that are falling apart. So the hot water stopped working, or the elevators takes forever to fix, or the hallway is leaking water, which then triggered a fire alarm, which means you wake up in the middle of the night 2 or 3 times. We heard that. And as a result, we put in more money to the to get more staff to enforce the building code and go and check to see whether the tenants are getting good service and whether things are being fixed. So Rent Safe really help a lot of the tenants to get their homes that are falling apart fixed. Landlord's supposed to fix them if it's not fixed. So Rent Safe was one of them. The other one is that we discovered that the rent banks was in great demand. People were just a bit shy. They don't have enough money at the end of the month to pay that piece, and rather than having them evicted, Rent Bank stepped in to help pay a bit, okay? And so we increased the money in Rent Bank in order to help support tenants, is to make life more affordable for the tenants. And in return, we were able to help a lot of tenants not being evicted, or that they have a better quality of life because their homes, what was falling apart, got fixed. But we didn't know the extent of the needs. We heard that urgency, that desperation. I thought, oh my God, okay, we need to put more in. So that, because if you imagine, if they get evicted, if they can't find a place, then they become homeless, then it costs us a lot more to shelter them.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And please follow our social media platforms. For more information, check out our website.